20 youth pastor learnings from 20 years in student ministry. Or I'm trying to give you my best learnings over the last 20 years of full-time youth ministry and then give it to you in a couple short videos. Almost 100 years ago, this statue was built depicting John Ball and two of his children. It's at the John Ball Zoo. Well, over the years, this statue has become a famous place for people, for families and friends who are visiting the zoo to come and take pictures. What I find interesting is that though the primary purpose of the zoo is to look at animals in cages, the statue that has become the most famous symbol of this zoo has no animals in it. It's all about the relationships between people. I would like to propose to you today that though the zoo exists to let people see animals, the real value of a zoo is that it strengthens relationships between people. In a similar way, a youth ministry, though we're running programs, having services, doing trips and events, the primary value of a youth ministry is the relationships that form between people. Because I'm convinced that it's through those relationships that people actually learn to follow Christ. After 20 years in full-time youth ministry, I'm more convinced than ever that youth ministry at its core is primarily about relationships. Sorry about that obnoxious banging in the background. I'm at the zoo and it's just going in the background. There's nothing I can do to stop it. Because Jesus modeled this for us. Yes, he taught sermons and preached sermons that literally were influential across history and across the world. But the thing that Jesus did that really changed the world, one was his resurrection from the dead, but then his relationship with his disciples is the thing that carried his message to the whole world, that literally ended up changing the world. See, these guys learned what it meant to be followers of Jesus in the context of relationships, not necessarily in the context of sermons. So I propose sermons are extremely important, but I would propose that relationships are even more important. I would propose that young people learn to follow Christ in the context of relationships. I mean, think about it this way. What is the top 5 sermons that have changed your life? Can you think of them? Now, who are the top 5 people who have changed your life or impacted your life for Christ? You could probably think of, off the top of your head, this person and this person and this person, because people learn to follow Jesus in the context of relationships. So youth pastor, as you create and design your student ministry, as you strategize and plan your programs and your events and everything that you're going to do, make sure that all of those things are helping to encourage and facilitate relationships. Relationships between students and leaders, relationships between students and other students, relationships between the youth pastor and the students, because it's through those relationships that students will learn what it means and what it looks like to follow Christ. Of course, we want to have fun, and we want to do trips, and we want to do all that stuff, and we want it to be great, but all that, if it doesn't lead towards relationships, it's way less effective. One of the things that I love about this statue is it depicts a father and his children. And though in youth ministry we're not necessarily strengthening the relationships between fathers and their children, we are giving students spiritual parents and spiritual grandparents and spiritual big brothers and big sisters and spiritual aunts and uncles. We're giving students relationships with people who love God, who are following God, who can walk with them as they go through the chaos of teenage life and help them see what it means to follow Christ. Over the last almost 100 years, literally millions of people have taken family pictures and pictures with their friends at this statue. At this statue. I find it ironic that at a zoo, millions of people haven't taken pictures with the lions and the tigers and bears. I'm sure hundreds have, thousands have, but millions of people have taken pictures here at this statue. See, I believe this statue has become the most famous image of this zoo because it speaks to relationships. And I believe if our youth ministries are going to be as effective as they possibly can at pointing students towards Christ and changing students' lives, they must be focused on relationships. Well, I've heard it said that the best way to help a student to know God and to love God is give them a person who knows God and loves God. And so, youth pastor, as you run your youth ministry, as you lead your youth ministry, yes, do amazing services and preach amazing sermons and do life-changing trips, but make sure through all of that, you're putting students in relationships with adults who can walk with them as they go through the craziness of teenage life. Adults who love God and who love them in a real and authentic way. Do this. These adults don't need to be cool. They don't need to be anything. They just need to love Jesus and love students. Put them in a place where they can build those relationships. Boom. You will have a life-changing youth ministry. So in summary, youth ministry is primarily about relationships. So do whatever you can to facilitate relationships between young people and adults who know God and love God. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.